So am I.
Hi, Roy Ivy here with Sci-Fi History, Changing Times and Time. And this week's topic is Superman, the man of tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed that Superman clip from the seldom seen Roy Snyder cut of Justice League. Now, Superman has had tremendous longevity. He's been around since 1938, which means he's been around 83 years at this point. And he's had to reinvent himself quite a bit. And he hasn't had the luxury of starting and stopping. He's had to do it right in front of us, on the fly. Since that time, there has always been a monthly Superman comic coming out. Since he was the first superhero, and he was the superhero. Superman was created by writer Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, illustrator, 16-year-olds. Can you believe it? Jerry Siegel wrote a story, The Reign of the Supermen. But it wasn't like the Superman that we know. This Superman was a vagrant, and he developed psychic powers. But he misused those powers, and wound up being a vagrant again. He was very sad. He was sorry that he misused his powers, and he had learned his lesson at a great price. Now, Jerry Siegel had Joe Shuster illustrate The Reign of Superman, and it was published in their fanzine, which they ran off on the school mimeograph machine. Later, in 1935, Jerry wrote another story with Superman. It had some of the elements that we have come to know. It had Clark Kent and Lois Lane. And it had a strongman. But the strongman had no superpowers. He was a circus strongman. Joe Shuster also illustrated this tale. And Jerry Siegel took the comic book and sent it off to syndicates, the new syndicates. Now, after a flurry of activity, all the major news syndicate strips, publications, wasted no time in rejecting Superman. Now, Jerry was getting feedback from the publishers, and they seemed to think that Joe Shuster wasn't a good enough artist for this project. And Jerry tried to fire Joe Shuster, and Joe responded by burning all the pages of the Strongman Superman, save for the cover. Later, Jerry and Joe got back together, and they actually were working for National Allied Publications. And they again started developing Superman. And more of the tried and true elements had slipped in. He was an alien from outer space. He had the costume. His alien nature was established. And they offered Superman to Detective Comics. They wrote a series of 10 installments that would run in Action Comics. So, Superman appeared in Action #1. It was a hit. Jerry and Joe sold the rights to Superman. Finally, they were in for their payoff. And they sold the rights to Superman for $130, which, adjusted for inflation, is still a paltry sum for the giant merchandising machine that would become Superman. Superman was an immediate success and sold millions of copies for Action Comics. And very soon, Superman got his own monthly comic, which was quite unusual since digest style was the standard of the time. But people couldn't get enough Superman. So, Superman was the last son of Krypton. His father was Jor-El, his mother was Laura. Jor-El knew that Krypton was doomed. But he only had a small rocket ship, and he sent his only son to Earth, where he knew that he would have superpowers, and he would need that advantage in order to survive. Superman was found by Jonathan and Martha Kent, or Mary, as she was called at that point. Wasn't completely locked in until later. Jonathan's name wasn't used until many years either, and he was just known as Paul. Clark found his way to Metropolis, and he went to work for the Daily Star. Or was it the Daily Planet? Or was it the Daily Star? Took a while for that to lock in too.
Perhaps you could arrange for half my salary to be sent to this address on a weekly basis.
You're Bookie, right?
Oh, what?
Don't tell me. He sends a check every week to his sweet gray-haired old mother.
Actually, she's silver-haired.
I'll see right you.
So thank you very much, Miss Wright. Excuse me.
Was he the first superhero? At first, he was treated as a vigilante. In some cases, he was even shot at by police, and signs would fall down. In the early days, Superman was considered a vigilante, and he was actually occasionally shot at by policemen trying to arrest him. Superman was not yet a superhero. He was a mystery man, and there were becoming many more mystery men. But he inspired many more mystery men after that. Superman's powers were relatively simple at this point. He could leap an eighth of a mile, or a 20-story building, and nothing less than a bursting shell could pierce his skin. And it took a while before his other powers appeared. Many of these were created in the radio show and then later adopted in the comics. In 1948 was the first of the Superman serials, a 15-part series of Superman versus his archenemy, the Spider Lady, starring Kirk Allen and Noel Neill. In 1950, there was another 15-part series of the Atom Man versus Superman. And in 1952 to 1958, Superman went to television. George Reeves in The Adventures of Superman, with Phyllis Coates as Lois Lane the first year, and Noah Neal as Lois Lane for the rest of the series.
All right, boys, the party's over. It's Superman!
I have to mention the Fleischer cartoons, which ran from 1941 to 1943. 17 episodes of a very stylized Superman. The Fleischer cartoons were the inspiration for Batman the Animated Series many years later. Superman was Earth's first superhero, and he was our champion. He had very common beginnings. His enemies, he fought mobsters, wife beaters, normal thugs, and crime. His rogues gallery developed only over time. Now, Superman is a golden age superhero. But the golden age was coming to an end. Superhero comics were dropping off after World War II. And as interest waned after World War II, comics companies stopped making superhero comics. Except for Superman, who endured. Now, superhero comics made a comeback in 1956 at the start of the Silver Age, which was when they brought back The Flash in Showcase number 4, which featured an Earth 1 and an Earth 2. The Golden Age Superman eventually settled in the Golden Age on Earth 2. Now, the Golden Age Superman eventually took home in Earth 2. Earth 1 followed the new Silver Age of superheroes, which DC decided to bring back their superheroes. But they changed their origins, they changed their names, they changed their secret identities. Except for Superman. On Earth 1, the age of superheroes started much later than it did on Earth 2. Now, an interesting thing with continuity. Most publication characters exist in their own world, unaffected by the normal passage of time. As you can see, Superman has been published for 83 years. But by edict, he is an internal 29, 30 years old. He's 29, just on the cusp of turning 30. I suppose that the best way to describe it is that on Earth 2, Superman and the rest of his lot, all of these characters are tied to contemporary times. In their origins, their time spent, their adventures, continuously is rolling forward. So now, with the Silver Age reboot in full force, DC started bringing back all of their superheroes. They changed the names, changed the costumes a bit. They remained essentially the same, but different. Now this left a troublesome problem for Superman. It was decided at some point that the Golden Age Superman would stay on Earth 2. Silver Age Superman would go forward. Basically, the best way to explain it is that basically the origin date of Superman continually rolls forward to keep him contemporary. He no longer fought in World War II. He no longer was a part of the World War II scene. He was no longer a member of the Justice Society. All of his associations rolled forward. Now he was a part of the Justice League, but essentially remained the same. This is easier for other giant franchises to do. Consider Mickey Mouse. He lives in a timeless time. Past, present, future, who knows? He lives in the Mickeyverse. Now, rebooting at the beginning of the Silver Age seemed like a natural. Many of those comics hadn't been printed, published in years. So the audience that was following those comics was totally new. Still, time marches on. And DC found that they needed to reboot yet again. This time they did it with the mega crossover Crisis on Infinite Earths. What began with Showcase number 4 in the Flash of Two Worlds had exploded into a multitude of countless Earths that were becoming more and more difficult for people to track, which was a fun pastime for a while. It became a complicated bit that put off new readers to the books. So DC was very keen on simplifying their universe. But they were going to do it in a very big way. Crisis on Infinite Earths. Many, many characters were affected across the entire DC line. And very importantly, Superman. Some changes were made that needed to be made. Superman had become incredibly powerful. So powerful, in fact, it was almost impossible to write a story about Superman, to find something that would challenge him in a reasonable, realistic way. Now, they found ways of expanding his character, moral choices, but as far as a lockdown, drag-out fight, nothing could stand against Superman. He could take on the entire Justice League. He was moving planets by the end of the Silver Age. And people were thinking he was just a little too powerful. So they fixed that on Crisis on Infinite Earths. Changed and depowered Superman. Oh, he was still a force to be reckoned with. But no longer could he move planets. They also found a way to make Clark more important of a role. And now, the story was Clark and Superman was who he played at being. Superman was the facade and not the main character. Clark was in the driving seat, and Superman was now the facade. So Superman has inspired our imaginations. Ever since his debut in 1938, he has been fighting for us. For justice, truth, liberty, and the American way. Yes, the American way. Something good. That is what Superman stands for. But he is above all of that. Politics aside, Superman is a citizen of Earth. And he loves the people of Earth. And maybe that's what we love most about him. That he's an alien that came not to attack us, not to conquer us, but to protect us. Superman is a dream, and that dream lives on, and it will continue to live on for many, many years to come. Thank you for watching Sci-Fi History. Changing times, time. I hope you're here next week. Bye-bye.